It's Thursday, the 10th of November. It's 8:45pm, and this is the Cats Whiskers Weekend Preview Podcast, and we're live. Hello and welcome to the final Cats Whiskers podcast of the week. My name is Jono Bullard and I'm delighted to say, joining me to look ahead to Panthers games against the Coventry Blaze and the Sheffield Steelers, it's our old mate Aaron Lord.
Hello there, mate. You okay?
Yeah, I've heard you've been in the wars a bit.
Yeah. No, it's winter, isn't it, and everything. So powering through tonight, soldiering on.
Yeah, I have a child at nursery, so you know, it's every disease known to man. Right. Anyway, so enough about the medical issues. So we'll get straight on to Panthers taking on the Coventry Blaze in a Challenge Cup game tomorrow night at the NIC. Face-off is 7:30pm, and I'm led to believe that good seats are still very much available. So it's the third meeting of the season between the two sides. Both previous meetings have been at the Sky Dome, with each team taking a regulation victory. Panthers already qualified for the quarter-final stages of the Challenge Cup. Blaze have to win to still be in with a chance of qualifying. So, Aaron, is it dangerous that Panthers effectively have nothing to play for, but Blaze have everything to go for?
I think, obviously, from the Challenge Cup point of view, then yes, you would say that is dangerous. But, you know, there's more at stake, I think, for us than just a Challenge Cup 2 points, because we're pretty low on confidence. It's not been the great last 4 weeks really, and we have to approach this game as if it's crucial and it's vital. The 2 points might not be, but the victory is, in my eyes.
I mean, how do you see this game going? Because I've been thinking about it a lot today, and it's like we say, we've already qualified, and we're on the back of a pretty awful run, to say the least. Yeah. And I just really cannot call it. I mean, it would be good for Panthers to make a statement and get a bit of confidence ahead of Saturday, but Blaze are going to come in. They've come in off 2 great wins last weekend, so they're going to be very high on confidence. I just cannot call it. What about you?
Well, look, I don't think we're going to come out and really put the sword to the Blaze at all. Really, I can't see that, because I've personally not seen any of that in the last few weeks. Really, yes, we've been trying, but I just don't see us suddenly flicking a switch and sort of like putting a team to bed early, or really being dominant in the scoreline as well as in possession, etc. So I think, I just see it being quite tight, and I think obviously from a Blaze point of view, you could look and say, like you said at the beginning, they need to win. Panthers are not performing well at the moment, not getting the results. There's still going to be pressure on us. So from a Blaze point of view, you could look and go, look, let's really go there and give it everything, because like you said, they do need to win. It's in that kind of area of, look, nothing else will do. What have they got to lose to a certain degree? Whereas this, it's the longer we go on without winning a game, whether it's Challenge Cup, League, or God forbid we get to the Continental Cup and we've not won a game, the harder it's going to be. Because once you're in a rut, it's damn hard to get out of it. So I can see us trying to be a little bit defensive, trying to shore it up at the back. Obviously, with the new signing, you would hope that might come a little bit easier and quicker than what it had done if we hadn't got him in. But I think the way our team is at the moment, we've got to build from the back. We've got to stop conceding so many goals and give us a chance of winning a game, because it's not like we're scoring 4, 5, 6. So I see it being quite that nervous kind of first period maybe, and try and ease ourselves into the game, and then we'll see how it goes from there.
I mean, talking about defence and shoring up at the back, a lot of debate on who's going to get the start in net for this one. Mika Winkman has not been on his best form of the season. I think that's fair to say over the past few games. Henry Passell has been waiting in the wings. I personally think he will get the start tomorrow night. What about you?
I think I'd agree with you, mate, to be honest. Like you said, he has been waiting in the wings. There's times, probably over the last few weeks, that people might have thought, do you know what, Henry deserves the start tonight, and he's not obviously had that. We know that on his day, Mika's arguably the best netminder in the league, but the form of late hasn't really shown that. And if we look at it from a Challenge Cup point of view, give it Henry. It doesn't necessarily matter if we lose the game, so give it Henry. But then the question that I would say is, whoever kind of starts tomorrow, I personally think should start on Saturday. I don't know about what you think regarding that, because we're in that such of a rut that swapping your netminder whilst we're in this rut at a weekend, for the 2 games, I don't know whether that's a good thing. So for me, whoever kind of starts tomorrow should get the nod on Saturday as well. But I would suggest, like you said, that I think Henry will start in net tomorrow. And you can't say that it's not deserved, or he's not waited, or bided his time while we've gone through a rough patch.
I think Passell will start, and I think it depends on how he does, to see if he gets the start in Sheffield, because don't forget, the last time he was there was in a Challenge Cup game. He conceded 7. So that's not great. However, if he goes into tomorrow and concedes 2 or less, then I think that gives him a very good shout of starting on Saturday night.
Do you know what I think as well? I think it's I read the Cage forum for the first time in a long time today, and Mika's form was mentioned, and the talk of potentially is there a niggle or an injury and stuff. But we don't talk about kind of the mental side of it. We've gone through a massive rough patch, and we're in a bit of a rut. I'm not saying you go to your netminders and say, right, who wants to play, who doesn't want to play, because I'm pretty sure everybody wants to play on every night. But is it just give a night off to, you say to Mika, we're going to give you the night off just to sort of get yourself mentally prepared for the next game, and vice versa. If Mika plays tomorrow, and then you could say that Henry gets to start on Saturday, etc. Do you because I imagine there's us as fans, and we've talked about it on previous podcasts about the frustration and the fact that we're not playing well and not getting results, but we still have to say that the players will be feeling that as well, if not more to a certain degree, because it's their responsibility to put it right. So I think it'll be interesting to see the mental side of that, because if it is another bad day at the office tomorrow, going into Saturday, that's not ideal, is it?
No, and I mean, I did speak to Mika briefly when we was in Spain at the Continental Cup, and he was saying how good he was feeling, and how fit he felt, and how he'd enjoyed the season up until that point. So I don't think there is a niggle. I don't think there's a problem with his fitness, but it's like you say, that it could be mentally. He's not won. I think it's 4 games now that he's not won where he's been in net. That's not good for a netminder.
No, it's not, exactly. And everybody would look at the netminder because they look at the stats and they look at the goals conceded. But I think we have to appreciate and understand that it's not it's not Mika on his own the reason why they've been conceding that many goals, etc. As a team, we have played pretty poorly, and we've kind of left the door open at the back too many times. So it's not just obviously from his point of view, but he is the netminder, isn't he? Like you said, and people just go, "Oh, we let in 4 goals tonight." Unless they've watched the game and seen the game, they'll just assume that the netminder has had a bad night. So there's a lot of pressure on that netminder, isn't there? Really?
Absolutely. As you mentioned earlier, Christian Kudrock makes his debut for the Panthers tomorrow in defence, which should see Eric Lindhagen move to the forward lines. And Ben Davies makes his debut for the Blaze after signing for them earlier in the week. That was a very interesting signing, and I must admit, when I thought of the teams that Davies might go to, Blaze wasn't one of them.
No, I have to agree with you, to be honest. I can't remember what podcast it was, but it might have even been the Ask TCW last week when the news came out that Ben Davies had got released and was potentially heading back over to these shores. That we should look to get that signing just because our Brit pack isn't what it used to be. So I think it's a great signing from the Blaze point of view. And yeah, I suppose, like yourself, he's played in Cardiff, he's played for the Clan. You would automatically put those two at the top maybe to see where he goes, just because people go back to their former clubs. But I think it's a really interesting signing. I think it's a good signing, like I said, and it can, adding a Brit to your roster can only make your roster better and stronger. So interesting, an interesting signing.
The thing is, as well, he started the season in Swindon, where he was on a short-term contract before he went out to the States. He was at Norfolk Admirals, played 5 games for them, got 1 assist, I think it was, but would have been under their training camp and regime, so should be very, very fit, or certainly match fit. So I think it is a superb signing for Blaze, and I think he has the potential to be very dangerous for them, because Ashley Tate, Russ Cowley aside, they've got a lot of young Brits, but their Brit pack probably wouldn't be considered amongst the best in the league.
No, I think that's fair enough. They've invested a lot of time already, haven't they, in kind of their youth of Brits, but like you said, Russ Cowley and Ashley Tate especially are coming towards the latter stages of their career, and Ben is kind of in that middle, isn't he? So he can obviously offer a bit more experience. Like you said, he's obviously gone over to America. Look, he might have not been in America for a long time, but 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in that environment with the players out there, different coaches, different style of coaching, whether you're out there for a week or you're still learning, aren't you? And he will obviously bring that back into the Blaze and the Sky Dome. So it, like I said earlier, it just enhances their Brit pack and makes their roster stronger. And I think he will be good for that kind of younger Brit, just to help out with obviously Ashley Tate and Russ Cowley, like you mentioned.
Christian Kudrock, of course, makes his debut for Panthers. He's been very visible this week. He came in on Tuesday. He's obviously had a week's full of training. He's been in a couple of website articles. 6'7". He's a big guy. He's the sort of person we want, really, who will hopefully clear the crease in front of the netminder. And with Jeff Waugh out, we don't know how long for. It's a good cover pickup by the Panthers.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he performs, and it is something that we've kind of needed because we are very offensively defensive. We are very good, kind of bringing the puck forward and looking ahead, but it leaves you wide open, doesn't it, really? And you only have to look at our results and how many goals we've been conceding to kind of go, do you know what, we need that stay-at-home D-man that kind of main responsibility is to keep the puck away from our net. We've had some very good ones over the years, Jason Beckett, Obviously, Brian Smith last season was immense, and maybe could be that player for us. So look, he's in a new team. Yes, he's had a week's kind of training, but there's nothing kind of like prepares you for actual match, is there? So let's see how he performs. But I would just like to sort of see him play that stay-at-home D-man. I don't want him going any further than the blue line or halfway, really. But it'll be interesting to see, because you read up on him and he's apparently got this bit of a temperament, and we can't be having that. If it's all right getting that body in, but if he's spending some time in the box, it's pretty pointless, isn't it? So let's see how he is. But he's a big guy. He's 6'7". And do you know what? He's obviously he's not willing. He's willing to stand up for his teammates and himself. So it'll be interesting to see whether that's a role that he plays with us as well, and maybe takes that away from Brian McGrattan a little bit. Obviously, McGrath's will be the main man, but it'll be interesting to see whether he brings that physicality in that area of his game to the Panthers.
She's not here tonight, but Tina has, of course, been geek girl as usual and sent us all the.
She's got that spreadsheet out.
She's got that spreadsheet out. She sent it over to us. So we're looking back at the last 9 games against the Coventry Blaze at the NIC, which of course includes the playoff final last April. So from the last 9 games, 7 Panthers wins, 1 loss and 1 draw, which was in the 2015 playoff quarter final, a 3-3 draw. The only victory for the Blaze coming on New Year's Eve 2015 with a 5-3 victory. Other than that, all Panthers win. So Panthers do have a very strong record against the Blaze at the NIC.
Yeah, I remember that loss vividly, sadly. It was quite a depressing New Year's Eve. But yeah, I mean, looking at those stats, obviously it's you'd rather have more wins than losses, but I think it's a very different Blaze team this year to what we've kind of seen in the past. So, look, stats are great, and all that is fantastic and makes us look like we perform better against the Blaze at home than obviously the Blaze do against us. But as anything with stats, isn't it? That just tells you that potentially there's another victory for the Blaze just around the corner. So we need to I'm pretty sure that people in organisations and part of coaching teams and players don't really look at stats like that. It's good for the fans, but it's about what we are as a team this year and what the Blaze are and what they offer against us this year. So let's just hope it reads 8 wins after tomorrow night.
Okay. Moving on to Saturday, and Panthers travel to the House of Steel to take on the Sheffield Steelers. That'll be a 7 o'clock face-off, and as has been well documented on our podcast earlier in the week, there will be no webcast for this game. So if you want to see the game, you are going to have to get yourselves up to Sheffield. This will be the 3rd meeting between the sides this season, the first in the league. Both teams have 1 win each in the series, both home wins in the Challenge Cup group stages. Sheffield have lost just twice in 9 league games, while Panthers have lost 6 times in 12. So we're not going in there with the greatest record. However, Sheffield didn't have the best weekend last weekend, losing a 5-1 lead to Edinburgh, and then going up to Dundee and losing 4-0. So I suppose there's quite a lot riding on this, and I suppose a lot depends on what happens Friday as well.
Yep. As I mentioned earlier, obviously the longer our rut goes on, and if Friday isn't a success for us, then that rut's gone on a little bit longer and the pressure builds, etc. But I think, as you mentioned, yes, both teams have won 1 in the Challenge Cup, both at home. This is different for me. This is league. This is the first real meeting for me. And it's Panthers, Steelers, all that, what comes with it. But I just think it's because it's a league game and there is league points up for grabs. It just makes it a little bit bigger for me, and I just think obviously we will go there. You know, I kind of see us going again defensive. We have to be wary of. You know, so far this season, it's kind of been that role reversal, hasn't it? And I think I've heard this from some Steelers fans in the sense of they're very attack-minded. They've got players and scorers all over the roster, you know, throughout their lines, but they're dodgy at the back. You know, it's kind of that sexy Nielsen hockey that we saw, and we'll score more goals than we concede. And we're kind of a little bit different in the sense of we're not really scoring many goals. But at the start, we had quite a good D. So I think obviously we will need to be very wary of that goal threat that they possess. And look, the longer it goes in Sheffield Arena, where it's tight and they're not scoring goals, then you know the power and the pressure kind of shifts onto the men in orange. And look, we have got goals. We can score a goal. We're just not scoring goals at the moment. So if we can keep it tight, and you know whoever's in net has a good game, and we keep them to the outside like Dundee did last weekend, then you know we could potentially nick it. But it's going to be very tough. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be busy. It's obviously going to be, you know, packed. There'll be, I imagine, 7,000+ in there. What we can't do is we can't go there and give them an easy start because they're just going to run away with it. Then for me, you know, it's just going to be so tough. The crowd will get loud. That you know, it'll all just be, you know, Sims's goal. Chance will be longer than ever.
It'll be the usual hell on earth it is when they're winning.
yeah, pretty much. So I think it's imperative that you know we kind of go with that defensive look. Let's keep them to the outside. Let's keep it tight. Let's really work hard and it's concentration, isn't it, in these type of games? You know, being aware and also keeping out of the box, not taking stupid daft penalties. Yeah,
I think the key for me is to get in Mustakov's face, because I don't rate him as a netminder. I never have. I didn't the first time he was here. I think he gives away a load of rebounds. He leaves himself wide open at times. I think if we can crash the net, get him giving off his rebounds, and then taking the chances when they come back out again, because they will be there. We scored virtually all 5 goals we scored against them in the Challenge Cup game came from rebounds from Mustakovs. So crash the net, and that's how you're going to get your goals. But you're right. I think that the actual key is being very tight at the back and not conceding, and that's going to be easy said than done. Paul Thompson in an interview today says he hopes to have a full strength lineup, and that could be very ominous for us, especially as it's likely that Chris Lawrence, Stephen Schultz and Jeff Waugh will still be out of the lineup.
Yep. You know, in games like this you want to have all your bodies, don't you? You want to have your 4 lines rolling, which both teams play when they're at full strength, because that can make a difference. You know, look, I think you make a very good point. You know, crashing the net, getting in, you know, Mustakov's eyes, etc. I think, you know, what I kind of want to see is, and we don't do it that often, but something that Matthew Myers did very, very well, you know, and he did it for GB. But when we're on the power play, park your ass, you know, right in front of Mustakov.
Well, that's a role that McGrattan could do.
You took the words right out of my mouth. What I was just going to say, you know, nobody's going to push McGrattan about really, that or whoever it is. They're going to have to give it a bloody good welly to get him out of the way. But we haven't seen that, you know, so far. But I think it's, you know, I'm kind of with you. I don't think, you know, the Moose is everything that he's been made out to be. You know, I agree with you. His stats, you know, didn't tell the whole picture for me last time he was here, because it was very slippery and he did offer a lot of rebounds. So I think if we do get those power play options, we've got to be taking his eyes away. And as you said, McGrattan is somebody that I think could do that. But yeah, I think, let's be gritty. Let's be, we have to stay on the right side of the rules, etc. But, it's about bloody time. We saw one of these games where it was a little bit dirty. It was a little bit, nasty. Because we need to play like that, for me, in this game against that team. We can't go there and try and be, be kind of respectful to the level of we're not physical, we're not trying to unsettle them, etc. Because we're in a rut. We are in a rut, and you're not going to get out of that rut by playing sexy hockey. You've got to grind it. You've got to get in people's faces. Somebody is going to have to take this game, and that's Friday's game as well, but especially Saturdays. Somebody's going to have to stand up and be counted and say, look, I am going to drag this team through this game. I am going to be the man that helps to get us out of this rut. And if we have 1-2 of those type of players, then we will give ourselves a very good opportunity of winning the game. So, why not let it be that kind of physical, in-your-face kind of hockey? Because we've got some players that can do that. I mean, at this early stage in the season, do you think it's a must-win game? Because I certainly do. I think we have to go to Sheffield and win that game to lay down a statement, because I think they're starting to stretch away then if they win this, because I think that will put them six points clear of us, with 3 games in hand on us as well, and with Cardiff already 10 points clear of us. I think we have to win in Sheffield on Saturday. Yeah, when you say it like that and say those kind of stats and how many games in hand, etc. Look, I don't think if we lost this, if we lose this game on Saturday, come the end of the season, I don't think it will be a season-defining game. But I kind of agree with you in the sense of if we're going to give ourselves any chance of confidence, belief, knowledge that we could go into somewhere like Sheffield Arena and beat them and compete with them, then yes, we have to win it. And we just need a win from somewhere. Do you know what I mean? And that's why what's the more important game, Friday or Saturday? And I know Elaine's got in touch with us via Twitter, and she's just put, while we all would want to win, I'd rather take a win on Saturday. And she says, wouldn't be surprised to see Larry this weekend. So, obviously looking at that from the league point of view and potentially against the Steelers. But I think it's, if you take away the kind of league standings and how far Sheffield are ahead of us and then the games in hand and how far Cardiff are, we just need to win for our own benefit. Because, like I've said before, the longer it goes on, the harder it becomes. And that's why it's imperative in a certain way that we do need a win.
If you're listening, how do you think the weekend games will go? Get in touch with us on Twitter, just like Elaine has. It's at Whiskers TV. Use the hashtag TCW Live. Right, it's time to get a Sheffield perspective on things. And earlier this evening, I spoke to Scott Antcliffe, and here's what he had to say. On Saturday, Panthers travel to Sheffield to take on the Sheffield Steelers at the Sheffield Arena. It'll be the first league meeting between the two sides this season. I'm delighted to say, joining me to talk about the game is the ringside reporter for the Steelers TV webcast, Scott Antcliffe.
Hiya, Jono. How are you doing?
Very well, thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on and joining us to talk about the game. So, Sheffield Steelers, they've had a pretty good start to the season, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tomo now, he's finding his feet really well, and the players are really buying into the spirit. Bringing in Jerry Anderson as well was a great move for Tomo. And, off the ice, we've improved massively, and that's showing on the ice with the results we've had. We've lost 2 in his last 12 games, where, we've got scoring throughout the team. The scoring's balanced across the team, whereas I think previously in the past, we've over-relied on your likes of your Matthew Wars, Colton Fretters, but we've got so much secondary scoring, which we've kind of lacked in the past. So, really happy with how things are going. A couple of, minor tweaks I think we could make, but overall, really happy and a great start, and hopefully long may it continue.
You had a bit of a sticky weekend, the one just gone, though. 5-1 up against Edinburgh, and they came back to take it into overtime, which you won. And then a 4-0 defeat against Dundee on Sunday. That must have come as a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the webcast for both games, and it's frustrating hockey, I guess, and to sort of have a lead like that and throw it away. We did a similar thing earlier on in Cardiff, and we managed to kind of recoup it and get the win in overtime as well. But to put yourself in that position and almost take the foot off the gas and let the other team back into it, it's very frustrating to watch. Result against Dundee, that was a bit of a shock as well. I mean, Lefebvre, the results haven't been going his way, but he got a really good result against us. 4-0 whitewash. Their netminder stood on his head. Absolutely outstanding. They played a great defensive game, sort of limiting the Steelers' shots. There weren't really many shots of conviction, but Fallon, he was outstanding all night. And, Dundee got the fair result, really. They fully deserved the win.
Panthers obviously come into this weekend having lost their previous 5. Steelers have been on good form. The form book would probably say it'd be an easy victory for the Steelers, but do you find that a team that has been on a losing streak can be quite dangerous?
Yeah, because Steelers will have a point to prove, especially against Panthers will have a point to prove, especially against the biggest rivals, and it's always an interesting, feisty end-to-end affair between both teams. I don't think it'll be a Steelers whitewash, a big Steelers victory. I'm thinking it's going to be a close, hard-fought game. The Panthers, like I say, the players have got points to prove, and they're going to be playing with a bit of a bee in the bonnet. And particularly after, like you say, losing the 5 games since they came back from the Continental Cup, they need to really start to turn the season around, because you're losing points early on, and any momentum what you can get, it's kind of being scuppered at the minute. So I think a big win. A win over the Steelers would, do yourselves a massive favour, not just in terms of the result, but the confidence, what comes with that from the win, against your big rivals, and that'll hopefully go some way to help the fans and cheer them up a little bit.
Panthers, of course, take on Coventry on Friday night. Steelers don't have a game until the Saturday, and then you take on Dundee on Sunday. Do you think that gives you a little bit of an advantage going into Saturday night's game?
Yeah, I think it gives us a bit of breathing room. Players always have a good week of training ahead of them. The training is always very structured, and I've kind of been down in the past because I work near there. So I've sort of seen how much of a tight ship Jerry and Paul run. So a good week ahead always massively helps. And then not having the game, that does help, because as we've seen before, when teams have played 3 games in 3 nights with Friday night games, you've not got much left in the tank, and I think it does help having that bit of an extra rest and preparation, certainly.
Because Tyler Mosienko left the club a couple of weeks ago, which was a bit of a shock, but his replacement, Jared Hagost, took to the ice for the first time last weekend. How do you think he came through?
I think to say, without him playing in such a long time, I don't think he's played a competitive professional game in 6-7 months. So to say he's been that long without a game, I think he's done really well. He's, a lot of encouraging signs. His awareness, his puck possession, his shooting. He is looking really, really good so far. Obviously, it'll take him a few games to kind of get the rust off and get the fitness up, because obviously hockey, it's such a specific, for a game as well, the fitness is so specific. You can train all you like, but you can never kind of replicate that fitness, what you need for a game. And for him to come in and do as well as he has done so far, it's really promising. Obviously not an ideal debut weekend for him, losing against Dundee and then the close game against Edinburgh, but hopefully this weekend he'll kind of get a bit of a feel as to how the games will be against the Panthers, and hopefully that will kind of help him find his feet easy. He's kind of been thrown in a deep end, I guess, but he's done well so far.
Put your neck on the line, Time. Do you think Steelers can make it 3 Elite League titles on the bounce?
Ooh, it's tough. I mean, in a sense, I didn't expect us to do as well as we did do last year. Obviously, it was close fought and down to the wire again. But trying to repeat a success for a second year is always tough, and I guess for a third year on the bounce, it's going to be even tougher. But we've done well so far, and the signs are good. I think obviously Cardiff are looking competitive, and when you guys maybe find your feet and find your form again, you guys will challenge as well. So it's going to be, I think, another close season, but the signs so far are there. I think with a few tweaks, particularly Steelers to improve defensively, I think we've certainly got a very good chance.
Okay. Well, Scott, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out to come and talk to us, and we'll hopefully speak to you again sometime in the season.
You're welcome, Jono. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Many thanks to Scott for joining us there, and appreciate his thoughts from a Steelers point of view. Aaron, anything to add to what Scott had to say?
No, I agree with some of the things that he says. Obviously, like I mentioned a bit earlier, they have got sort of strength in depth over their rosters. Very interesting that he obviously mentioned Jerry Anderson coming in as well. But yeah, let's hope we can take advantage of kind of, what he mentioned and as what we've mentioned about that kind of, their defence is still a little bit dodgy. So let's hope we can take advantage of that. And I suppose we'll see, won't we?
Yeah, we've had another tweet from Elaine talking about what we were talking about earlier. She says, I've been screaming for us to crash the net for weeks. We just don't do it. It's so frustrating. So we're not the only ones who think it, mate.
Well, yeah. To be fair, I think it must have been Sunday against Belfast. People in and around where I was sat, we were talking about it. Why not stick somebody there? You take away the eyes, you get a deflection, etc. A lot can happen, but we just don't seem to do it. It's just obviously. And a lot of people will come about, I imagine, and say, it's just Corey Nielsen's sort of power play is predictable, etc. Don't mix it up enough. But we just have never done it. We very rarely do it. And I just don't see why we don't give it a go. What's the worst that can kind of happen? Because we've got to be doing, I know it's been successful, the power play at times this season, but again, I go back to those kind of, we're in a rut and we need to try and get out of it, and maybe trying something and crashing the net a little bit more might help us do that. Who knows?
Okay. We're going to take a look at some of the other news that's happened over the past week. Chris Higgins' match penalty that he got against the Coventry Blaze last Saturday has been upheld for butt ending by Dobbs. He served his 1-game ban against the Panthers. I think that was fair enough. Having watched it, I don't think there was a lot in it.
No, but it's not a nice... it's not a nice thing, is it? Butt ending, and does need to be punished. But like you say, obviously serving that game against us, he'll move on obviously to this coming weekend.
Manchester Storm have strengthened their ranks by signing Dutch international Nargo Nakzam to cover for injuries. Storm revealed that Patrick Valcak and Darian Dzaniski will be missing for 3 weeks through injury, which were both picked up in the game against Panthers last Saturday, while Adam Harding is out long term with a broken foot. So that's a pretty decent acquisition that Pasha has made.
Yeah, especially at this kind of short notice, etc. They are down on bodies. You only have to look at that photo that was on social media during the third period against us last weekend, and there's more space on the bench than there is taken up. So, and a team like this Storm, it's you can't. It's hard, isn't it, when they lose bodies to get results, because it takes its toll. And obviously they've got the money in there to help the team out and are willing to do that. So it's obviously good for the Storm that they've got Nargo in, and his pedigree looks not bad at all. So hopefully he'll be a success for them and will help out anyway on the bodies front.
Panthers have announced that the Christmas home game against the Sheffield Steelers on Tuesday the 20th and 7th of December will face off at 4 p.m. So your thoughts on that, mate?
I mean, whatever time of day it would be, I'd be there.
It'll still sell out 4 weeks before.
Well, yeah, exactly. Look, it's become a fixture, hasn't it, within its own right. I think it was mentioned that obviously that is a bank holiday this year anyway.
Yes, it is,
so people might be off work So even if it was a 7:00, but I suppose the one good thing is that if it's still with family and Christmas time, you could go to the game, and then after the game you could go and see some family or have a meal, etc. And go around to somebody's, your family's house. You could still work it around that that face off. The only obviously thing, it's less time to recover from the Boxing Day clash. But I think you're talking 3 hours, aren't you? Let's be honest. I'm sure that's not massive difference, but who knows? But
and it's the same for both sides as well.
It's the same for both sides, like you said, and look, they're going to be good games. And like you said, I'm pretty sure that it will be the fastest selling out game in Panthers history, I would have thought, especially if we win on Saturday.
Yeah. And finally, Peter Callis trained with the Nottingham Outlaws rec team last night to help keep in shape after his release by the Panthers. And I saw a post on Facebook with a picture, and I think that's great that he's taking the time out. He's obviously still in Nottingham, wants to keep in shape, and has contacted one of the local rec teams to get on the ice with them.
Yeah, I know, and he even paid his subs. So
I should bloody well hope he did.
But yeah, it's possibly something that you wouldn't imagine, would you? Obviously hearing the news that he got released earlier on in the week, you might think that he's, he'd just go back home or off to another team by this weekend. But look, I think, and we saw it in the, the press after he'd been released, that it wasn't, it was a tough decision for Corey and the club, but obviously one that they think is right for the club going forward. I think there's obviously, it's not like he's left on bad terms, etc. So I think maybe that's the reason why he's still in Nottingham. Who knows? But no, I think it's obviously very good from his point of view for doing that. And I imagine anybody that was, part of the Outlaws would have been a little bit, starstruck and very appreciative of him actually turning up and playing with them. And I just wonder how many goals he scored. I bet the D-man and the D-man and the netminder didn't like it. But there you go.
Well, I'd have loved to have trained with an ex-NHLer when I was playing, but...
Oh, yeah. I bet you would have checked him on the boards, wouldn't you?
I'd have had to have caught him first. That would have been unlikely, let's face it. All right, I think that's a good place to leave it for this week. So I want to say thank you very much to you, Aaron.
No problem. Thank you very much to you, Jono.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much to you for listening to all the podcasts that we've had this week. And many thanks to Scott Antcliffe for joining us as well. We will be back on Monday looking back at the games against Blaze and Steelers. And of course, the STCW podcast will be back next Wednesday, and the weekend preview podcast, which will be looking ahead to the Continental Cup next round in Denmark. We'll be back next Thursday. All will be live and all will be starting at 8:45 p.m. But once again, many thanks for listening for all the podcasts this week, and we will see you next week.